Hi, have you ever wondered a little bit about your professor and how they came to be in a classroom, how they became professors in the first place, what motivated them to even become professors, and how this particular professor actually ended up in this class teaching you today? Have you ever sat back in a giant lecture room, sitting at the back of the class, miles away from the professor, and seeing a little tiny figure and thinking, well, I probably need binoculars to even see that professor clearly enough to get a sense of what he or she looks like? Have you ever gone to the website of your professor, looked them up online, found a bunch of photos, and wondered which one of these is actually my professor and why do the photos all look quite different? Have you even gone to their website and wondered how does the photo on their website look so much younger than they seem to be in the classroom? The goal of this little video is to introduce you to me and give you a few answers to some questions like that that hopefully will allow us to get to know each other better and have a great semester in this class. So why make a video? I asked all our TAs, you should find their videos as well, all the instructors to make videos to introduce us to you so you can get to know us a little bit. I hope too this is a starting point in you getting to know us a little bit better, that you feel like there's something you can talk to us about, something you can use to start a conversation so that we get to know each other generally better throughout this semester. That's definitely a goal we all have, is to get to know you and have you get to know us. So, who am I? My name is Rob McLeod. I'm the main lecture segment professor. And mostly when I'm used to seeing students in a big classroom like this, it looks something like this, where I see lots of heads, maybe lots of faces, either with your heads down taking notes or doing an exam. This class will be a little bit different, thankfully, in that we'll have discussion sessions. And so I'll get to know you in a much more intimate, smaller setting, and that'll hopefully increase our communication. We'll still have exams and there'll still be days where things look like this, but not as often as in a regular class. This format is called flipped, and you can watch other videos to learn more about what that means in a practical context for you. This video is really meant to be about me, and I'll start by saying how I got here. So I come from a place in the east coast of Canada called Nova Scotia, which is a long way from Utah. 5,000 kilometers, in fact, if you were ever to drive between those two places, which I frankly have never done, is what airplanes are for in my mind. But I did spend a lot of my education there, and I think it's worth talking a little bit about that, so you know sort of where I come from academically as well. So when I started my undergrad education, biomedical engineering really wasn't a well-developed program in many institutions, certainly not mine. So I took physics and I mixed in some biology courses with that, thinking maybe that would cover me and I would learn both facets of what a biomedical engineer is all about. And that worked, but I really focused on the physics a great deal more and truly enjoyed that. And I can say that it's a fantastic background, certainly a relevant background for this course, which is all about applying physics to the field of biomedical engineering. And after I spent some time getting my undergraduate degree, I decided I wanted to do something a little more practical and to do it in a slightly more exotic place. I wanted to see another part of the world, to learn another culture, to be competent in another language. And so I went to Austria. Why not, right? So I ended up in a city called Graz, and there I studied electrical engineering with a major in sound engineering. So this is audio engineering, how to make recordings. And that was a fantastic program. I studied music. I learned lots about different aspects of sound and how we hear and how we perceive sound, as well as the music and the structure of music. And I certainly benefited from that in my own interest in music. But so what happened next? I had my bachelor's degree in physics. I had a master's degree in electrical engineering. And at that point, I decided that I really wanted to move away from the sound engineering as a profession, as a career path, and return to the topic of my research interest throughout my undergraduate and throughout the time I lived in Austria. This was the job I had working in a lab that allowed me to live in Austria for that long time, 7 years in all. And so I decided then not to pursue a career in sound, but to take a PhD, get a PhD in the field of physiology so that I really could understand the mechanisms, the function of the system of my interest, which is the heart and the cardiovascular system. So I returned to Dalhousie then and conducted a PhD. Now, you hopefully know, but may not, that a PhD involves research as coursework, but a big part of the focus is on research. And our field research was truly field research in that we put a lot of equipment into a Volkswagen bus and went off into the country to make recordings of the very small magnetic fields that come from the heart. As you will learn, the heart generates electric fields, the ECG, and we'll learn about that in this class. But it also generates very small magnetic fields, and we set out to record those. My job was to manage all the recordings of those signals, the magnetic signals, but also the electrical signals, which we recorded simultaneously and used later to analyze our results and interpret what the magnetic signals might be telling us about the function of the heart. And I had a wonderful mentor then, a physicist named Gerhard Strunk, and he will tell you here a little bit about what sort of research he was interested in and what some of the challenges were of recording these very small signals from the heart.
Any electrical activity creates a magnetic field, then you should be able to detect that as well magnetically. My studies at McGill earlier in my PhD had to do with making very tiny devices that could measure extreme small magnetic fields, typically a billion times smaller than the Earth's magnetic field.
Gerhard's early work in biomagnetism was really interesting stuff. He wanted to measure tiny magnetic signals generated by the body, but you can't do that in the city because there's too many other magnetic signals around, and was able to make really precise measurements of the magnetic signals that were generated by the human heart.
So once we had our research data from our field studies, I prepared my PhD thesis and defended it successfully. I got the one and only suit I've ever owned in my life. No tie, you'll notice here. But I did wear the suit and I was successful in defending my PhD. And so the question is, what happens after a PhD? Well, typically it's a period of what's called being a postdoctoral fellow or doing a postdoc. And when I was exploring different options for a postdoc, I had the good fortune to visit Utah while I was still a grad student and was able to go on a couple of great bike rides with some people who later became my colleagues here, and really discovered that both from a research perspective and from a quality of life perspective that Utah had a lot to offer. So I came to Utah as a postdoc, which is typically something you do for 2 years, 4 years maybe. After about a year, things were going so well that I was offered and accepted a faculty position, and I've been happily stuck here ever since. So I came here in 1990 and I'm still, very happily enjoying the benefits of Utah, both in the research world, in the classroom, and in the outdoor opportunities. One of the key people I met when I first came to Utah was this guy, Chris Johnson, who you see in this picture. Now, Chris and I had very similar goals, and they were to take computing as it was emerging then. Again, this is 1990. As it was emerging, and then try and figure out how to make computing more accessible, how to give it an impact that it might have in our field, which at that time was, again, the heart, the cardiovascular system, and by extension, how we might even apply it to other disciplines that were of interest to us and interest to other people who we started to collaborate with. And out of that early research group emerged an entity called the Scientific Computing and Imaging Institute, or the SCI Institute as we call it. And the SCI Institute has a number of different research directions, but a common theme of applying computing to different disciplines. The faculty that make up the SCI Institute core come from a range of disciplines, everything from math through to biomedical engineering and a lot of computer scientists, of course, but we all share a passion for seeing computing change the world, literally alter the way we do research, the way diagnostics happen, the way data are analyzed, and that's really the drive that we have. And if you're interested in this topic, of course, I hope you'll speak to me. There are many research opportunities, and there are many courses that we teach and different programs. that can allow you to also pursue this direction. So out of the Ski Institute, which again emerged quite innocently as a research group and now includes about 185, 190 people, that's really become our research home. Here you can see an image of the Ski Institute. Hopefully you've seen this building on campus. This is the Warnick Engineering Building, named after John Warnick, the founder of Adobe, and also very strongly supported and funded by Ed Catmull, who is the head of Pixar, which is now part of Disney Animation. So there's a long history of fantastic computer science that in a modest way we're trying to replicate or follow in terms of applying computing to the world, in my case, the world of biomedical engineering. So that research life I have allows me to travel the world, to give presentations like this one at international conferences. In fact, one of those international conferences will kind of interrupt my time during the course, but will look after you even if I'm not here. And has really allowed me to also have fantastic interactions with students. So I place great emphasis on creating a productive, welcoming environment for students to pursue their research interests, whether they're undergrad students or graduate students. And I have a group that grows and shrinks as time goes on, but is always welcoming new interests. So if you have interest in research, please talk to me. Some of the people in my group you'll meet as TAs in this class, and hopefully take the opportunity to speak to them and learn a little more about what we do and what it's like to be a student in a research setting in biomedical engineering. Now, another aspect of that travel allows me to really see the world. So I was a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, I had the good fortune to travel to Spain, and to have a little folding bike, and I took that folding bike and rode to the top of an alpine pass that's quite famous in the world of bicycle racing. But I also went to a fantastic conference in a place called Bordeaux in France. And this is the life that one has as a researcher, interacting with international colleagues and students, traveling the world, going to conferences, and engaged in interdisciplinary, in my case, research that is always focused on computing and typically applying it to some aspect of how the heart functions. What I do for fun, among other things, is ride my bike. So I love to ride locally. I have always enjoyed Utah as an amazing place to ride a bike, mostly on the road. Used to do more mountain biking. And I get to ride with my little folding bike also to fantastic places around the world, as you've already seen. I enjoy a lot of that riding with my wife, who is a big fan of e-bikes, and together we have some wonderful riding trips together. In the off season, when I can't be cycling, then we also switch to skiing and enjoy just being in the mountains that we have here in Utah. And I encourage you, if you haven't already, to take advantage of that proximity and learn how to ski or learn how to snowboard and really enjoy the winter as well. So we'll have hopefully a great time together. I really welcome you to the class. I hope we get to know each other a little bit better, and welcome you at any time to reach out, contact me in whatever form you're comfortable with, and let's see if we can make this kind of an amazing semester for us all. Thanks, and good luck with the class.